While sleeping during the night, a parasite attempted to enter his body through his nose in order to control his brain. But since Shinichi squeezed it before it got very far inside, it ended up burrowing into his right arm instead. While on his way home the next day, Shinichi tries to save a little girl from being run over by a car, and he witnesses his right hand stop the car. Confused, he tries to stab his hand with a knife, but the parasite reveals its form on his hand and breaks the knife. Shinichi is now forced to cooperate with the parasite while keeping it a secret from his parents. Later, Shinichi's parasite directs him to a dog that has been inhabited by another parasite, and he is shown that the only way to kill it is to destroy the heart of its host. Shinichi's parasite gives itself the name Migi, meaning right. After Shinichi impresses Satomi Murano by making the winning shot in a basketball game at school, Kazuki Nagi becomes jealous and picks a fight with Shinichi outside. Shinichi recoils in fear, but Migi forces him to fight back and punch Kazuki. Shinichi later hears from Yuko Tachikawa that gruesome mincemeat murders are being reported in various locations around the world. He learns from Migi that parasites practice cannibalism for survival. Migi senses a parasite nearby controlling a man named Mr. B, and Shinichi heads to an alley to lead him away from other people. Mr. B invites Migi to join him in order to extend their lifelines, but Migi chooses to kill Mr. B and remain with Shinichi. The next day, after Shinichi treats Satomi to pancakes, they see 3 thugs throwing stones at a cat buried in a playground sandbox. Shinichi intervenes and stops them, surprising Satomi with his apparent change in personality. During a school assembly, Shinichi is dismayed to discover that their new math teacher, Ryoko Tamiya, is a parasite and is aware of his secret. After class, Shinichi privately meets Ryoko in the counselor's office, where she declares that she is not interested in fighting and asks him to meet her after school. They meet at a restaurant, where Ryoko introduces her partner Mr. A and reveals that she is pregnant, establishing that parasites are capable of reproducing with humans. The next day during class, Mr. A enters the school campus, attacking staff and forcing the students to evacuate. Migi suggests using the crowd of students as a shield to ambush Mr. A, but Shinichi disagrees and runs to the top floor to lure Mr. A away from the students. Migi reminds Shinichi that they must fight together as they're confronted by Mr. A. As Migi and Mr. A exchange rapid attacks, Shinichi takes the opportunity to puncture Mr. A in the chest with a metal table leg. Mortally wounded, Mr. A tries to find Ryoko, but she sets off an explosion with gas tanks to kill him, then escapes to safety. The pregnant and unmarried Ryoko is forced to resign from the school. Shinichi encounters her as she leaves, and she explains that every living organism follows a directive and that parasites were born to feast on humans. Meanwhile, Migi experiments with separating itself for short periods from Shinichi's body. Shinichi's parents, Kazuyuki and Nobuko, plan a trip to the beach. Although Shinichi worries about their safety because of the mincemeat murders, he reluctantly agrees that they should go. Following comments from his parents and friends, Shinichi suspects that he is undergoing psychological changes. When he sees a gang of delinquents led by Mitsuo assaulting Kazuki, Shinichi steps in and stops them, but takes a beating before the gang leaves. A female gang member named Kana Himashima detects something frightening about his nature. After school, Mitsuo and his gang abduct Satomi, and Shinichi tries to intervene, but he is no match for Mitsuo because he refuses help from Migi. However, a senior student named Kamiju arrives with a large group of students to deal with Mitsuo and his gang. Later, after Satomi leaves, Kana shows up to apologize, but when she shakes Shinichi's hand, she again detects something strange. Migi deduces that Kana can sense parasite wavelengths. Meanwhile, a parasite searching for a replicant female body attacks Nobuko and takes her body as its host before attacking Kazuyuki. Shinichi receives a call from his father, warning him about his mother, but he is shocked when she arrives home and pierces Shinichi through the chest. After Nobuko leaves, Migi merges into Shinichi's body to seal the hole inside his heart and saves his life. Shinichi is informed that his father is in the hospital and vows to kill the parasite controlling his mother. On his way there, he meets Makiko Hayase, a young student working at an inn near the hospital. At the hospital, Shinichi becomes angry when his father denies seeing a monster take his mother. He realizes it is because his father is unable to face the truth. Shinichi stays at the nearby inn where Makiko works while planning to find the parasite responsible for his mother's death. Migi explains to Shinichi that, since repairing his heart, its senses are inoperative while asleep. The following day, Migi senses a parasite nearby, and Shinichi runs towards the end of the seawall, where he sees someone who may be responsible for Nobuko's death. Shinichi meets Mamoru Uda, a human who has a parasite fused into his jaw, which saved him from drowning after he fell off a cliff. Shinichi tells Mamoru how he first encountered Migi and how his father ended up in the hospital. Later, Migi explains to Shinichi that it had scattered cells throughout his body to close the heart wound, which explains his physiological changes. Mamoru senses Nobuko, and Shinichi heads in her direction. However, Migi falls asleep after morphing into a scythe, leaving Shinichi to fight alone. Mamoru is badly wounded by Nobuko, and Shinichi arrives to fight her alone. Nobuko wounds Shinichi, but Mamoru executes a surprise attack, killing her. After saying goodbye to Makiko, Shinichi returns to school. The heavily pregnant Ryoko assigns a parasite-controlled host to impersonate a student and keep an eye on Shinichi. Mitsuo suspects that Kana has a crush on Shinichi and picks a fight with him. But Shinichi uses his newfound strength to easily defend himself. Satomi observes that Shinichi has changed since his return, especially when he throws a dead puppy into a garbage bin. However, later, when Shinichi realizes that he has begun thinking like Migi, he gives the puppy a proper burial. At school, Shinichi encounters Hideo Shimada, the parasite sent by Ryoko, disguised as a transfer student. However, Migi doesn't detect Hideo as a threat. Kana believes she detects Shinichi approaching, but it is Hideo instead. Shinichi arrives and warns Hideo to stay away from his friends. Although Shinichi acknowledges that she has the ability to sense wavelengths of certain types of people, Hideo wonders why Shinichi cannot always sense his presence and thinks his parasite may have a weakness. Takazawa, the chief of police, interviews Shinichi's father, Kazuyuki, about the parasite that attacked his mother, Nobuko. Kazuyuki confirms her likeness in the parasite's form in a sketch drawn by Haruki Tachikawa, a criminal profiling illustrator and the older brother of Yuko. Yuko has become suspicious of Hideo. Later, she witnesses Hideo being hit by a baseball, but remaining uninjured. While attempting to patch things up with Satomi, Shinichi is interrupted by Migi, who senses Hideo preparing to take on Mitsuo and his gang. Shinichi dismisses Hideo and warns the gang and its leader, Yano, to leave Hideo alone. Later, Satomi maintains her distance because of Shinichi's changed personality. Meanwhile, Yuko follows Hideo and discovers his ability to change his face, sharing her knowledge with her brother, Haruki. The next day, Yuko confronts Hideo in the art classroom while keeping a bottle of paint thinner close at hand for protection. Yuko throws the paint thinner at Hideo when he attacks her, then jumps out the window to safety. The chemical causes Hideo to lose his mind and go on an uncontrolled killing spree. An evacuation is initiated, but Shinichi re-enters the school. He finds Satomi alive and takes her off campus to safety. Migi senses that Hideo is on the rooftop, so Shinichi travels to the roof of another building meters away. There, Migi helps him throw a rock through Hideo's chest, killing him. In the aftermath, reports confirm that victims, including students, teachers, and policemen, were massacred by Hideo. At a high-level government meeting, officials decide to keep the existence of parasites a secret. A scientist named Dr. Yui reports that parasites can be identified by plucking hair from anywhere on the body, as the hair stays alive for a short time. Consequently, a new form of greeting becomes popular, pulling out a strand of each other's hair. Shinichi finally patches things up with Satomi after she thanks him for saving her. However, he hesitates to tell Kana the truth about his condition, even though she can sense his presence. When Satomi questions Kana about Shinichi's change in personality, Kana denies noticing any difference. Meanwhile, a parasite named Goto, disguised as a man wearing gym clothing, murders armed members of a Yakuza organization as an experiment to test his fighting ability without using parasite weaponry. Shinichi feels that Migi has truly merged with him, especially while out on a date with Satomi when he experiences chest pain after seeing a mother about to slap her disobedient child. Kana becomes dejected after witnessing Shinichi kiss Satomi goodbye after a date. Later, Migi senses 8 parasites at Takeshi Hirokawa's mayoral campaign, which promotes environmentalism. Although Hirokawa detects Shinichi's presence, Migi cannot determine the politician's motives. Shinichi and Migi discuss the possible reasons Hirokawa might be running for mayor and conclude that he could be trying to create a safe haven for parasites. Shinichi encounters Kana and becomes concerned that her ability to sense him may put her in danger. He arranges to meet her in an abandoned building while Migi is asleep and explains the truth about the parasites in Migi. However, Kana brushes it off as a joke, so he promises to show Migi to her one day. Later, Migi reveals to Shinichi that Kana emits a weak signal that parasites can detect, meaning they could seek her out. Shinichi convinces Migi to reveal his true form during a planned meeting with Kana, but cancels the meeting after detecting parasites nearby. Kana, assuming Shinichi will be at the abandoned building again, uses her instincts to track him. However, she instead finds a parasite that attacks her. The parasite stabs Kana through the chest just as Shinichi arrives. Enraged, Shinichi rips out the host's heart, but Kana dies in his arms. At Kana's funeral, Shinichi appears calm, raising questions about his humanity. The newly elected mayor, Hirokawa, holds a meeting with parasites to discuss the incident involving the rogue parasite that killed Kana. Reiko Tamura, formerly Ryoko Tamiya, suggests that Shinichi is involved. Reiko hires a private investigator named Shiro Kuramori to follow Shinichi and arranges for a group of thugs to attack Shinichi in hopes of revealing his right hand. However, the attempt fails. Meanwhile, Satomi remains unsettled by Shinichi's behavior. At night, Kuramori follows Shinichi, who returns to the abandoned building to mourn Kana's death. Kuramori sees Migi, who attempts to kill him, but Shinichi restrains Migi, allowing Kuramori to escape. The next day, Shinichi and Migi review footage from Kuramori's video camera and realize that Shinichi is being watched. Days later, Shinichi sees a wounded Kuramori still following him. Shinichi meets with Satomi to tell her the truth about himself, but hesitates, driving a deeper wedge between them. He seeks out Mamoru to help capture and interrogate Kuramori. Meanwhile, when Kuramori tells Reiko that he was attacked by Shinichi's right hand, she refuses to believe him and terminates his services. Shinichi and Mamoru abduct Kuramori and take him to the abandoned building. Shinichi explains the events leading to Kana's death. Kuramori remains suspicious until Migi physically threatens him, revealing that Reiko, his employer, is a parasite. The next day, Shinichi meets Reiko on the roof of a university after she attends a lecture on human behavior. She explains her interest in the evolution of parasites from depending on killing and eating humans to forming a coexistence, though an unequal one. Shinichi encounters a fortune teller who tells him that to achieve closure, he must find the person who put a hole in his heart. He laughs, knowing he already killed that person, his mother. Meanwhile, Hirokawa has been securing dining areas for the parasites in his cabal. Shinichi is taken to the basement of a parking garage where he witnesses the parasite Kuwata murder an innocent woman. Before Shinichi and Migi can act, Kuramori records video footage of them defeating Kuwata in an intense battle. However, Kuramori decides to destroy all the video footage and withdraw from investigating parasites. Shinichi vows to kill the parasites one by one. Meanwhile, Hirokawa sees Shinichi as a threat due to his intervention in the parking garage and enlists Goto to eliminate him. Shinichi detects 3 approaching parasites intent on killing him, but Migi falls asleep. Shinichi goes on the run for 4 hours, waiting for Migi to wake up. A parasite sent by Hirokawa catches up to Shinichi just as Migi awakens. Migi detects that 3 parasites share the same body, named Miki. Miki proves too strong for Shinichi and Migi, forcing Shinichi to flee into the woods. They manage to decapitate Miki, only to discover that Miki is part of Goto, who consists of 5 parasites controlling different limbs and the head. Shinichi flees by hitching a ride and with Migi's help manages to escape Goto. Shinichi then hears a news report that Kuramori's office has been burned down and his family murdered. He immediately calls his father, warning him to leave home, fearing he might be targeted next. Meanwhile, a traumatized Kuramori is interrogated by Detective Hirama, who already knows about the parasites. Reiko berates 3 members of Hirokawa's cabal, Kusano, Hikawa, and Masawa, for killing Kuramori's wife and daughter, but failing to eliminate Kuramori himself. They, in turn, begin to mistrust Reiko because she sees humans as a much stronger race than they had assumed. Kuramori tracks Reiko down at night but is soon surrounded by Kusano, Hikawa, and Masawa, who plan to eliminate her. Reiko outsmarts and kills them one by one, secreting a fragment of herself inside Hikawa and Masawa before taking down Kusano. Reiko returns home only to find that her son has been kidnapped by Kuramori. He leaves a note instructing her to meet him at the park. Reiko then contacts Shinichi, asking him to meet her there as well. Satomi, worried about Shinichi, tries to follow Reiko but loses track of her. When Reiko arrives at a bridge in the park, Kuramori threatens to throw her son to his death, accusing her of being a cold-blooded monster. However, Reiko stabs Kuramori and retrieves her son before Kuramori falls backward over the railing. Detective Hirama reaches the dying Kuramori, who identifies Reiko before he passes away. As it begins to snow, Shinichi comes face to face with Reiko. She tells Shinichi that her research has shown that parasites and humans are part of a single biosystem, and that parasites depend on humans to survive. Reiko is accused of being a parasite and of Kuramori's murder. Hirama and his men open fire, repeatedly shooting Reiko until her body is riddled with bullets. Slowly, Reiko approaches Shinichi and entrusts him with her son before she dies. As Reiko's life fades away, Shinichi recalls his friends who have died. For the first time in a long while, tears fill his eyes, just as Satomi arrives, witnessing Shinichi show emotion again. To determine whether Shinichi is a parasite, Hirama takes him to an interrogation room where he is brought face to face with Uragami, a prisoner and serial killer who claims he can detect parasites. Much to Hirama's frustration, Uragami does not see anything inhuman in Shinichi's eyes. At a police meeting, an upcoming operation to eliminate the parasites is announced, and a new police tactical officer, Yamagishi, is assigned to lead the mission, with Hirama providing support. Hirama suggests using Uragami to help identify parasites, but Yamagishi declines, considering the operation simply pest control. As the school year comes to an end, Shinichi returns to school. While talking with Satomi, he is approached by Hirama, who enlists him to help with the operation, much to Satomi's sadness. Following Migi's earlier advice, Shinichi suggests using flamethrowers as a tactical weapon against parasites to disrupt the connection between a parasite and its host. However, Yamagishi decides that his forces will target the heart instead. Yamagishi's assault force surrounds the town hall, which he suspects harbors multiple parasites. His squad begins evacuating civilians in small groups. Using high-end scanning equipment, they detect a parasite inside a female host. Yamagishi's squad isolates the woman and kills her with a high-powered shotgun. However, Hirokawa and the parasites realize the trap. 2 parasites exit the building, prompting the squad to open fire, damaging the high-tech scanning equipment inside a van. Yamagishi and his squad storm the lobby, killing parasites but also sacrificing human lives, which allows Hirokawa and his cabal to escape. Yamagishi splits his forces to pursue the parasites and takes Uragami with him. Encountering parasites, Yamagishi orders his squad to kill anyone found on the upper floors, prioritizing parasite elimination over civilian lives. Some squad members confront Goto, who uses his unique powers to absorb their bullets and fire them back, wiping out the squad. Meanwhile, another squad storms the auditorium, where they find Hirokawa waiting. Hirokawa accuses humanity of being Earth's infection, responsible for pollution and overpopulation, and calls them predators for refusing to coexist with parasites. He is shot dead, but the squad is shocked to discover that he was human all along, not a parasite. Goto enters the auditorium and easily wipes out the assault squad members. Meanwhile, Uragami shoots Hirama's partner Kozuma and escapes. Yamagishi's squad catches up with Goto, but is unable to defeat him. They retreat to the rooftop, where Yamagishi is the last to die. Goto then encounters Shinichi in the streets and vows to kill him before leaving. The next day, Shinichi, overwhelmed by despair, imagines Goto's face on everyone he sees. When Satomi visits him outside his house, he breaks down and runs away. She later finds him at the playground and invites him to her house, where they make love, renewing his will to survive. Soon, Migi detects Goto in pursuit. Shinichi and Migi attempt to kill Goto by crashing a car into him along a cliff road, but he survives. They then try to ambush Goto in a forest, with Migi separating from Shinichi for a surprise attack. The plan fails, and Migi sacrifices himself to allow Shinichi to escape, leaving Shinichi heartbroken. Shinichi is taken in by an old woman named Mitsuyo, who lets him stay at her house for a few days. He discovers that part of Migi still resides within his body. When nearby villagers report a brutal murder, Shinichi realizes Goto is responsible. Shinichi tells Mitsuyo about Goto and decides to confront him alone. Mitsuyo advises him not to throw his life away and gives him a rusty old cleaver, wishing him good luck. That night, Shinichi hunts Goto in the forest and finds him sleeping. As he prepares to strike, Goto wakes up. Shinichi is no match for him and suffers a savage beating. However, he manages to pierce Goto's body with a metal pipe from an illegal toxic waste dump. When Goto tries to kill Shinichi, a fragment of Migi emerges from Shinichi's right arm, countering the attack and reuniting with the rest of himself, which had been absorbed by Goto. Infected by toxins from the metal pipe, the parasites within Goto's body rebel, desperately trying to survive. Migi seizes the opportunity to destroy Goto's body. As Goto attempts to regenerate, Shinichi faces a difficult choice: let Goto live or finish him off. Initially hesitant, Shinichi ultimately decides to destroy Goto for the sake of humanity. A year after the town hall battle, the mincemeat murders have stopped and no parasites have been sighted. In a dream, Shinichi is saddened when Migi bids him farewell, entering a form of hibernation. When he wakes up, his right hand is restored. While on a date with Satomi, Shinichi reflects on how it is contradictory for humans to love the earth without loving themselves. Later, Uragami appears and abducts Satomi, taking her to the rooftop of a building. When Shinichi catches up, Uragami claims that humanity is full of monsters and accuses Shinichi of existing halfway between humans and parasites. Satomi, however, expresses that she finally understands Shinichi as a person. Uragami pushes Satomi over the edge of the building. Just as she falls, Migi's voice echoes in Shinichi's mind, telling him, "You should do the holding now." Shinichi finds his right hand grasping Satomi's left hand, and he pulls her up to safety. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading many more videos like this, so I'll see you in the next one.